Seeing these problems around, I'm taking action. I got the passion. My people been searching for change. I make it happen. I got the passion. I'm tired of...
Hey guys, welcome back to Speaking With Saif. This is episode 3, and on this episode I have Qasa Alom, a radio presenter, a TV presenter, someone that's been working and gaining a lot of experience in the media field. So once again, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with us.
No problem, mate. Great to be here. Thank you very much for wanting me on your show.
No, I really enjoyed it because even when I first met you, I saw the way you were kind of carrying yourself and the kind of professionalism that you had in a university environment with the other guys that were there. And obviously we're in a pandemic now, so it really does give me a chance to kind of reach out to you where maybe I wouldn't normally been able to reach out to you. Maybe you would have been busy as well outside. So to have even a piece of your time is brilliant, especially for some of the interns who are very interested in writing blogs and, you know, presenting and researching and journalism and things that you're around a lot of the time. But how did you actually get into this field, and you know, what kind of drove you to pursue this?
It's a really good question because it's actually something I wanted to do as a child, to be honest. I wanted to become a sports presenter because I was just used to watch football, cricket, you name it, whatever's on the BBC, Channel 4.
Yeah.
Free childcare, basically. My mom just plonked me in front of the TV and said, knock yourself out. And yeah, that was basically what I wanted to do for forever. And then, you know, school, university, I did lots of different things, studied French and German, completely away from journalism. And then afterwards, and this is going back about 10 years ago now, when I just left university, someone just said, what do you actually want to do with your life? And I was like, I don't really know. To be honest, I just want to sit and chat about football. And then someone said, have you thought about being a journalist? And I actually thought that was the first time anybody had ever said to me, a journalist. And I was like, aren't journalists like super clever and you know, and they're like really like knowledgeable and all this and got all these contacts, and he was like, nah, you can do it there. And he helped me out. This guy was a really nice guy, a careers advisor. And then effectively I just sort of plotted a course. I did a master's in journalism, and the main reason for that, and anyone who's listening, is because you do need some sort of qualification. A lot of people say, oh, I'm a journalist. And yeah, you probably are. You probably have the skills that a journalist does, the vocational skills, you know, the ability to find a story, to talk to people, to empathize with them, to see when someone is saying something that might not exactly be 100% the case. So they're all skills of a journalist, but you do also need a qualification in journalism, in media law, because that's the other thing. If you say things about people, or if you you know, write things about people and they're not exactly true, well, then, you know, you could be sued for it. And therefore you need to know exactly what it is. And especially when it comes to like UK journalism, there's a lot of regulation around it in terms of things that you can and can't say, who you can and can't talk to. For example, you can't talk about minors and name them if they've been in anything dodgy or something bad's happened to them. So, you know, you need to know about these sorts of things. So anybody who actually wants to get into this field, I would recommend that you definitely try and find a course. Because the other thing that course also allows you to do is it allows you to show people that I can come into your world and get the qualification that you want. So it's as simple as that, really. You know, get the qualification, tick that box, and then that's when your journey really begins, because that's when you've got to figure out what actual story you want, what you want to tell. And for me, I learned from the ground up. You probably want to come in here, so feel free to come in and talk over me whenever you want. That's fine. But I'll just tell you, like, I started 10 years ago. Freelancing, honestly, you can talk to my mum. I was working till like 3 a.m, random places, but I learned and earned my dues by learning reporting skills in radio, going to TV, doing documentaries, learning how to film. Anything that you want people to do, you should be able to do yourself, is how I feel about it. And so that's why now 10 years on, people might think, oh, you're just a presenter, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's like, yeah, but there's been a whole load of work behind the scenes to get to that stage.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Literally, I picked up like 2 or 3 things that I really wanted to ask you about in between as well. So I'll go in order with what you were talking about. First of all, a lot of these youngsters, even myself growing up, we've sat down in year 11 in college, and they tell us, you know, what do you want to get into? And at that point, and I know this because people sometimes at 25, 30, they still don't know where they actually want to go into. Every person's journey is different as well. So, you know, what would you kind of advise to those students that are probably sometimes maybe even feeling a little anxious because they may come from a background where their parents are asking them, so what do you want to get into? But they're maybe in year 11, 16, 17, 18, feeling this kind of pressure, feeling this kind of anxiety. What kind of advice would you have for these guys that actually don't know what they want to do?
Really good. Honestly, I'd say be open to your parents. Whatever you want to get into. My mum always had my back. I come from a Bangladeshi community. I love my family, love everyone I know, but so many people like, you want to be on TV, you want to work for the BBC. You know, how many people get to that level? You're not going to make it. Direct quotes. This is. But my mum was always there because I explained it to her. Like, this is what I want to do, and she always had my back. So I would genuinely say, actually talk to your family, but not only talk to them, have a plan. Like, this is probably one of the biggest things. I've been in this field now for 11 years. I have made so many 3-year plans. So I would say to everybody, work backwards. Where do you want to be in 3 years' time? How are you going to get there? So for anyone who's 16 right now, where do you want to be when you're 19? How am I going to get there? So if a 16-year-old's like, I want to be at university, okay, well, what do you want to study at university? I want to study engineering at university. Okay, how are you going to get there? Well, I need to get 3 A's or 3 B's, so I need to study and work backwards like that. Equally, someone else might be like, I don't want to go to university, but I want to run my own business. It's like, okay, how am I going to get to that stage where I'm running my own business? I need to now, in the next 3 years, I need to find people. I need to find a product, but I also need to make contacts. I need to get some apprenticeships and experience for people who already have businesses. And therefore you work through it. Every 3 years, a new one. So those would be my top 2 tips.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Those were hugely agree with the whole it's like reverse engineering to the finish line, which is something that I fully am behind as well. My second point that I kind of picked up from what you were saying, which is obviously they need to kind of get themselves into the right qualification to get the right avenues, the right opportunities, especially in the professional field of really, really big companies. But a big kind of problem that a lot of people have is when they pick their options or when they pick their A levels or when they pick their degree and thinking what kind of things, even if I was interested in media, do I need to have a degree in English or do I need to have a degree in just media or anything like that? What would you say is like something that will keep it open, or different kind of subjects that you can name that you know from work or your own experience that people have degrees in, which may be quite varied and open for these guys?
Yeah, so I would personally say, don't worry about whether it's a media degree or not. Because if you want to actually become a journalist, like I said, the main thing you need is an NJTC. That's the one. And effectively, if you have that, that is basically like that qualifies you as a journalist. Okay. Now, the rest of it you can pick up around that. So you don't need a media degree for that. I mean, if you do an English degree, maybe that will help you articulate what you want to say or be better at writing. Equally, if you do a science degree, maybe that means you can become a science journalist, because there is a lot of specialisms.
Yeah.
Also, if you do maths, you could probably become a data journalist. And data journalism is huge at the moment because whether it's the government, whether it's companies, they all produce public records of what they've had to do, how much money they've spent, etc., etc. Who better than someone with a maths degree to go through all the spreadsheets and figure out exactly all the discrepancies? And that's called data journalism. So whatever your qualification, you can think about it. It's basically using those skills you've got to tell a story. So that's what I'd say. I mean, other things, music or like languages like me. I mean, that's another one. So loads.
And this is my last question really to yourself. You picked up, you said it, French and German. What age were you when you picked it up? And again, speaking to some of these young guys who, let's be honest, a lot of us went through the GCSE side of things and that was it with MFL, everything to do with languages. And they could even look at giving up with anything to do with any languages. But, there is, again, a whole nother avenue, a whole nother door that presents itself when you know more languages, right?
100%. Now, clearly, so yeah, there's 2 things to say here. The first thing is growing up, and when I wanted to become a journalist, I wanted to become a journalist who traveled the world, told all these stories, and I thought learning French and German because we were in Europe, it'd make it all easier. I could become a football journalist and then go to the Euros or the World Cup and interview all these different players, because how many continents speak French, etc. Right? So that was one thing. But the other thing is I did those languages because I was actually good at them. Like I for no, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I speak Bengali at home and my mum speaks like Urdu and all these other languages. So there's a natural sort of thing for languages with me.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I carried them on is because I was getting A at GCSE in both of them.
Right. Yeah.
So I basically played to my strengths, and for some reason my strengths were languages. So when I got to university and I did languages, that was my strengths. So it gave me the best opportunity of coming out of university with a nice degree, which I could then use to go into whatever else I wanted to. I now am a presenter on radio, talking in English every day. My languages barely get used, but the skills about communication, getting myself through the door, all of that's happened because I followed my strengths rather than what other people thought I should be following.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was very well put as well from yourself. That's it from myself. So I'm going to actually pass it on to Anika, who's going to ask you some of the intern questions. I think there is one or two. We'll go with maybe two questions, and then we'll end it with a quick round of Would You Rather. So Anika, you ready?
Hi, Qasa. Yes, so I have 3 questions. First one that a lot of people do want to know and also struggle with is, how did you manage to build your confidence in public speaking and coming out of your comfort zone?
So this is a really good question. I could get really geeky about this. I won't, right? But what I will say is that however you do it, you have to just trust yourself. Okay, it's really really hard to put into words, but it's not about words. But you just need to, at some point, actually believe that you can do it. Now, if you want to talk about public speaking, one of the best tips for this is just focus on one person. So whether you're on radio or doing a Discord podcast or whatever it is, or you're public speaking, just focus on one person, whether it's the person in the front row, person in the back row. Imagine just one person talking, and that's who you're talking to, and that will help you out. That is the best tip I can give you about that. The second tip I can tell you is to breathe. And it sounds really, really basic, but so many people do not breathe. They don't take a moment to just sort of compose themselves, and then they'll get lost in their words and go faster and faster and faster, and then they don't know what they're saying, and all of a sudden, no, just stop that, take a moment. You're in control. You're the one with the microphone. You're the one talking. You've got their attention. You deserve to have their attention. And the third most important thing is discomfort is really, really good. If you are in your comfort zone too much, too long, you're going to get flabby and you're not going to go anywhere. So anytime, every few weeks, every few months, especially every 18 months, because it is a case of, this has been proven by science, like every 18 months, you're going to have a transition in your life. And that's when you need to embrace that change. So this pandemic, for example, nobody could have predicted this was coming, but what it has done is caused a period of change for people. So you'd need to embrace that discomfort and be like, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? And I'm doing that. Saif's doing that. Everyone else should be doing that as well in your own way. So those would be my 3 tips, okay? First one is to breathe. I know that was number 2, but to breathe. Second one, focus on one person in the crowd, or if you're speaking, just focus on one person in your head. And the third one is to embrace that discomfort.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
What was one of the most important things that has helped you today to become to succeed in becoming the person you are?
Pretty open one there.
It's a really good question again. I'm glad you asked this, actually, because it's only something I've realized recently, and it's being a nice person. It sounds so cheesy, but I've always been a nice person because my mum is a nice person. And growing up, I always used to think, oh, nice guys finish last, because that's kind of what you see in the TV, and you hear about the cutthroat industry and people, stabbing each other in the back. And yeah, that sort of stuff happens, but be who you are, and you know, your values, keep to them. And mine has always been a nice person, being humble, and trying to be kind to people, and also remembering people, uh, gratitude, effectively remembering when people have done nice things for you. And that is the main one, because honestly, at every stage, from wanting to get my first freelance shift to even now, you have to have someone opening doors for you. So they need to be kind to you for you to progress, and you need to do the same for other people. But equally, when someone is kind to you, I think you need to remember that and say to them, and literally say to them, and I do this all the time, like, thank you very much for being kind, for helping me out, because you'll be amazed at how many people don't stop to say.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
agree.
I'm going to quickly pass over to Shaquille, see if he has any questions for yourself. As I mentioned to you, Shaquille is someone that regularly works with the bloggers, the researchers, and everything in line with that. So I'll check with him if he has any questions.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Shaquille. I had a question to ask that would really benefit, I think, the youth in particular. So when we talk about like research skills or like presentation skills or writing skills, they're like a lot of people class them as technical skills. Some people seem to believe that you either have it or you don't. Some people also feel like there's only a certain level I can get to, and that kind of limit themselves in that sense. So the question I kind of want to ask is, when it comes to these sort of skills, what would be your advice to when someone wants to kind of improve on a particular skill? So let's stick with research, for example. If you are at a certain level when it comes to research, there is always room for improvement in anything that you do. And it's quite a challenge sometimes to get the youth to see it like that. They almost see it as, I can either do this or I can't do this. And that's just the way things are. So what would be your advice when you are particularly good at something, that there is always room to improve and even be better?
Yeah, I'd like to say two things on this. I'll answer your question first, and that is to focus on one thing and improve that one thing, and just focus on that one thing for the next 6 weeks. So I play a lot of tennis. I'm pretty good at tennis, but I can always be better. Tennis is one of those things that you'll never be perfect at, right? And growing up, or when I was trying to teach myself, I was like, yeah, I'm going to teach myself my backhand, I'm going to teach myself my forehand, I'm going to get really good at my volleys, I'm going to do everything. And it turns out, by trying to do everything, I ended up improving nothing. So then I started actually getting some lessons, and I said to him, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. And he said, no. What's the most important thing that you want to improve? And let's work on that for 10 weeks. And that's what I would say to everyone. Even if you are good at something, you're not good at every single aspect of it. So if it's research, like you said, right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, then how good are you at processing that? Just focus on one thing within that subsection that you're not as good at everything else at, and try to improve that for the next month. And then when you've done that and got a little bit better at that, and focus on the next thing. So that's what I would do. And ultimately, by the end of the year, if you do one thing a month, you should be better at 12 things within that field. So that would be the first thing I'd say. And then the second thing I actually wanted to say is one of the phrases that I keep coming back to. Keep it simple. Actually, the phrase is keep it simple, stupid, because
Yes.
someone just drew a massive kiss.
Yeah.
Because effectively that is literally what it is. If you're writing an article, forget all the flowery words. What is it you're trying to say? Say it. Simple as that.
I absolutely agree on both points. Thank you very much.
Catered for by British Asian Catering, or BAC for short as well. I wanted to know why they do what they do, what goes on behind the scenes. The detail that these guys put in is amazing. What we do is we come to weddings and we just eat, and after eating we go home, or we see people and that's about it. But we don't actually understand the graft and the grind that goes on, not just from the catering side, but also from stage decor, from the layout of the tables, and even the waitering side of it. Let's take a look.
Hi guys, so today's catering was done by BAC Catering, and the food was incredible and the decoration looked amazing. Thank you so much guys.
BAC started around 10 years ago today with the intention of helping the community through very important rites of passage like weddings and other special occasions. We wanted to make it a joyous occasion where people enjoy themselves, and we wanted to make a positive impact on people's lives. Our team consists of a wide range of people from all different backgrounds, ages and skills. We provide professional catering services with eye to detail and exceptional hospitality tailored to your needs.
Would you rather have your flight delayed by 8 hours or lose your luggage?
Yeah, flight delayed. 100% flight delayed. What about you?
I'd go with flight delayed as well. I can't lose my luggage.
The interesting thing with this though is you can never get time back,
Yeah.
but you can always get more luggage. However,
Yeah.
we both said flight delayed, and that is something that we both need to redress. You
see-
can never get more time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I literally put up an Instagram post today where I said, for those people that listen to a kettle boil or just wait for the kettle to boil and do nothing in the meantime, either you're very, very tired or you're not actually using your time productively. So in that situation, I'd probably want to be hands-on doing something while having my flight delayed or doing something to make up for the time, I guess. Would you rather be in your pajamas or in a suit all day?
I'm going to go with suit, simply because I'm one of those people that even if I change into another pair of pajamas, I have to change in the morning from what I was sleeping in just because it makes me feel awake. So I'm just going to go suit.
There's
Dress.
there's a huge link between like what you wear and how you act as well on a day-to-day basis. I think I'd go for suit all day as well. It's just one of those things where it just makes me feel active, right?
Exactly. I'm exactly the same. It feels a bit weird when you're like watching a film wearing a suit, but you know, it is
What it is, really. Okay, here's a very interesting one. Would you rather end hunger or end hatred?
If you end hatred, then you end hunger because people love
Potentially.
each other and feed each other.
I agree. I'd agree with you. Yeah. If you end hatred, there'll be more love out there and everyone will know what it means to actually share all the resources that we actually have and we have in abundance as well. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I think that is actually us wrapped up for this episode. So once again, thank you so much for the time that you've given us and the wisdom and knowledge that you've given us as well.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. And keep doing this sort of stuff, man. It's really good helping and inspiring the next generation.